Canada is currently looking at a bill called Bill 11 out of CBC. The headline reads, "Much anticipated mandatory vaccine debate begins in New Brunswick legislature." This is a bill, it's kind of a reboot from last year's Canadian Bill 39. It's authored by Education Minister Dominic Carty, and it seeks, it's the same old, same old. It seeks to eliminate religious and philosophical exemptions to school children, barring them, if it does pass, barring them from the fall 2021's session. I read over the reporting. Carty is trying to frame this as science versus anti-science, but even last year in 2019, the reporting, it was 3 days of sustained testimony at the Capitol there, and when they tried to pass Bill 39, and a lot of all four legislatures in Canada were divided on this bill when they tried to pass it the first time. So what's further interesting about this bill is written actually in the bill are attempts to invoke what's called the non-withstanding clause from the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. What this would do is it would shield the bill from any constitutional challenge moving forward. So, I mean, I don't know how someone could vote for this if baked in the cake it says you can't even contest the religious challenge in this bill in courts. It's a fascinating situation. This is kind of like an extra step we're seeing now that we haven't seen in bills here in the U.S.
Wow, very interesting. So Canada needs to really get with it. You guys, I know you're watching the HighWire too, so please share all the information that we're giving you, because I think it fits on this side of the border, the same thing on that side of the border. You have the same insanity. And we know this is happening, Jeffrey, right? We warned that coming out of COVID-19, the pandemic, which really I think you could say we have been predicting something like the pandemic was going to happen for at least the last year, if not the last several years, saying they're going to attempt to have some sort of scary false flag operation, or whatever you want to call it, to make us all so afraid that they will be able to pass these bills that they haven't been getting away with so far. Do you have the same sense that I do, that we could imagine seeing bills like Colorado and happening up in Canada, literally in every state that still needs to remove exemptions so that we can force vaccination? I imagine every state in America is going to light up. I would think every nation around the world is going to light up with these policies. Do you see any way around that?
Well, I do see that happening 100%. I mean, just look what they did with the measles in 2018, end of 2018 and 2019. That ushered in a slew of vaccine legislation that, the veil fell very quickly that it wasn't about measles, because they tried to force all ACIP vaccinations in perpetuity. And what I'm seeing, what we're seeing with these bills is they're just adding the COVID-19 hook on it and say, yeah, when the vaccine becomes available someday, we got to have this conversation. So let's have it now. Any way around this, I say exactly what Michelle was saying. People need to join this, and they are. Thousands of people everywhere, in every state, every city. Bring your community together. This is the fight of the generation. It really is, when it comes to the medical rights and this medical overreach. And this is where it's being framed. And in Canada, I pulled some quotes from the headlines. It doesn't appear to be going well. There's a quote opposing the bill, a couple of quotes opposing the bill. Progressive conservative Bruce Northrup says he doesn't see any way he'll change his mind on this bill. He says, quote, "I can't do that to the people that live in my area and people I've heard from," Northrup said. "I have struggled with this for quite a while, but at the end of the day, I can't vote for Bill 11 as it sits." He called this the biggest struggle he's had during his 13 years in the legislature. And how many times have we heard that from people, even the guards, even the state troopers at the capitals here in the U.S., they've never seen turnouts for bills like this, 5,000, 10,000 people over the course of a week. Amazing. This is it.
Fantastic. What else we got?
Well, CNN, let's jump to CNN, a headline. Antibody tests for COVID-19 wrong up to half the time, CDC says. What the heck? So in the reporting here, it says if just 5% of the population being tested has the virus, a test with over 90% accuracy can still miss half the cases. So this is a shocking headline. It should be on everyone's radar. Where did this come from? This came from a document from the CDC titled Interim Guidelines for COVID-19 Antibody Testing. Now, keep in mind, this document from the CDC was produced 2 months after the FDA gave the green light for widespread antibody testing. So they're just now getting interim guidelines up. And in this document, they're saying that testing at this point in the country might result in more false positive results. So they don't have, they basically say in this document through so many words that they don't have trust in the antibody testing out there. So where does that leave us? People want to get back to work. Kids need to get back to school. Society needs to desperately reactivate right now. So what does the CDC say? Looking directly at the document's quotes, let's see. It says serological test results should not be used to make decisions about grouping persons residing in or being admitted to congregate settings such as schools, dormitories, or correctional facilities. Goes on to say serologic tests results should not be used to make decisions about returning persons to the workplace.
But I mean,
and
Jeffrey, we know right now in California, they are really starting to talk about a very robust contact tracing program, which is something that we're actually talking to people about getting into really deep next week. But what is the point? I mean, with contact tracing, they are literally talking about the ability to say, I'm sorry, you don't know this, but you came in contact with someone that has tested positive. Therefore, we're going to have to ask you to lock down your house. Some of these bills that they're talking about are going to pay you, I don't know, $450 or something to stay in your house for a week or two just to see if you end up getting symptoms. When we think about, I mean, the most insane draconian measures you can imagine, and the testing at the heart of it that's going to drive this program is 50% inaccurate?
Yeah, This is the CDC saying this, and it's also saying further that the presence of the antibodies doesn't equal individuals' immunity from the COVID-19. So, let's take that a step further. Why are we still using these standards to evaluate this in vaccine trials? Why are people falling all over themselves during the Moderna trials when they put out a press release and they say 8 individuals had neutralizing antibodies? Oh my gosh, this is the standard we're using for vaccine testing trials. And the CDC is saying, we have no idea what these antibodies quite do yet. It's undetermined, they say in the document. Yeah.
Again, I'm just going to keep saying it's the Illuminati of clowns. I mean, I don't understand how people are still. Every time I see someone with a mask, I was like, you're listening to the clowns too, I guess. You still are buying. The red nose isn't throwing you off. The big orange hair has not thrown you off yet. The lack of an ability to hold an idea together for more than 1 week and make it sound like truth isn't getting through to you.